Welcome to the Good Ride, where we're carefully charismatic on our carves and overly optimistic on our ollies. I'm James Beastie, and this is the Burton Waverange X Pro Step-On Boot, a late release for 2025 that's setting the tone for the new 2026 line of snowboard boots. And yes, spoiler alert, the Ion Step-On is no more, and it'll be replaced by a more responsive version of this. And while this has a lot of points of failure, less shock absorption than it looks like, it's a very soft flex with very high-tech materials, but I'm not sure about their longevity. It has a large, soft, rubbery plastic ankle support to replace this outer ankle strap. That can cause some pressure points on this somewhat thinner liner. This one hard plastic area that supports the step-on system caused a lot of pain in my Achilles heel, and it's very expensive, but it's the first step-on boot I've ever tried that allowed a more natural flex from tip to tail, had a more normal response that will pair up well with a lot of boards that are easier to turn, and will have a strong appeal for those who like more snow surf oriented boots that want that more natural surfy feel, or those that ride the park and want that more minimalist skate-like feel underfoot as well. So I rode this in firm but fun and fair conditions with the Atlas Step-On and the Burton Genesis Reflex Step-On. I only had the Burton Ion Step-On to compare. It's a much stiffer, much more responsive boot. Not a fair comparison, but just wanted to get on a baseliner before I got on these, so I knew really where they sit on the spectrum. And then I rode this with the Stranda Tree Surfer, the Capita Spring Break Powder Glider 2026 with a little camber underfoot. So that's why I was riding it on groomers, and the Burton Grillmaster 160, which I have an updated take on in Patreon if you want to see that as well. And this is an honest, objective review with zero brand oversight, and I can do that because of sponsors like Blower Board Shop. They've been selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders on the hill. So if you want to support honest, objective content and snowboarding in general, click through our links to Blower Board Shop when you're looking to buy something. It greatly helps both of us. Now let's talk weight. These are 2 pounds, 7 ounces. They're a little lighter than the Burton Ion Step-On at 2 pounds, 9 ounces, but a little heavier than the Burton Photon Step-On at about 2 pounds, 3 ounces. If you pair that up with the Union Atlas Step-On, it's 1 pound, 15 ounces with screws and discs in. The Burton Genesis Step-On Reflex is 1 pound, 14 ounces. So you have a pretty light setup overall. So when it comes to fit, this size 9 felt a little longer than most Burton size 9s. I usually feel my toes barely touch, and then when I lean forward on a toe side turn, they barely don't touch. And yes, they pack in a little bit over time, and I often have to add boot fitting foam in the heel back here between the shell and the liner to tighten it up per se, but overall it's a good fit. This feels a touch longer. I didn't really feel my toes touch, but I didn't feel my foot slide at all either, which was interesting. So I'm not sure if I would go a half size down if I were to keep these, but I will say that the toe box felt a little wider, a little more comfortable. I almost didn't have to heat mold these with my E-width feet, but if I were to get these, I would be very interested in trying these in an 8.5 wide. The liner is a little thinner than the liner inside the Ion. I think it's gonna pack out less, but it's still very heat moldable, very customizable. And while we're on the subject, it has the same old inserts that Burton always puts in their boots. And I think you could greatly benefit from an upgrade to something like Remind insoles, or even better for me personally, Footprint insole technology, or go full on custom orthotic, but that costs a lot of money. Now, let's talk lacing system. First off, they're adding a lot of points of failure to this system with 3 boas. The way they set up this lacing system, it's going to be very difficult to repair in the ankle area and down here in the toe area if these boas break and they need to be restrung. But it has 3 zones. There's one zone that goes over the foot right here. Then there's this big, soft, plastic, rubbery kind of ankle strap-like thing that sits inside on the second boa here. I found this sits really high on the top of your foot, and it needed to be tightened more than I'd like to alleviate pressure points from the forward flex. It needs to be in there kind of snug, and I'm afraid people will over crank and over tighten that. And I felt like it caused some odd pressure points. I would have been much happier to see that integrated into the tongue on the outside and then have them create a more traditional boa system. Felt more like an internal harness than an outer ankle strap. But you have lots of adjustability and a much more sleek outer look that kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, I think it's like the 2013 or 2014 Burton SLX. I love those blue hints and highlights, but with a modern look to it. All that being said, it's pretty quick on and off. And all you have on the inside is this single Velcro strap. So it matches the easy on and off that Step-On provides when you're riding. And yeah, the reason why you get these is because you can step in and out of your bindings really quick. I've never been a fan of the way you step out. It's a little sticky, but it's something you can get used to. And then let's talk flex. I'm gonna do it 2 ways. This is from the back, and then this is from, let's say, in the boot where your shin would be. And it's just such a soft, easy flexing boot. But as you can see, it has trouble rebounding from that flex. Look at that there. That concerns me when it comes to longevity of flex. Even though it has this articulation point right here, there really isn't much material in this boot that allows it to retain its flex. So it starts out pretty soft and it's just gonna get softer. And while this isn't a fair comparison, look at this ion. Oh, that's a lot of work for me just to do that. And it's a lot of work to get it to flex. Even though the ions aren't the best in terms of longevity of flex, this holds a lot better. So while this material feels very high tech, but it also doesn't feel that durable and long lasting. And at this price, you want these to last forever. But when it comes to response, because it's Step-On, because you're connected to that high back, it really has quick turn initiation for how soft this flex is. It's amazing, but it's not overkill. It's the first time I rode Step-On where I didn't feel like these boots were overpowering the boards I was riding. They felt just right. This is the kind of boot you want to pair with an easy turning board, where in the past, Step-On would overpower it. This feels more like a normal snowboard boot. When I really engaged into a harder carve, one thing that really bothered me was this plastic area here. It caused a lot of pain in my heel there, a lot. It felt like it was gonna rip off the skin. It took me 2 weeks to recover from it after riding these. I probably should have stopped earlier, but I wanted to give a real in-depth review for you all here. And I think it's because this is the only hard part. Everything else is soft and it flexes so much that my ankle kept bending forward and pressing my heel into this plastic area that has zero give. So it went right through this denser foam right there that protects you against this harder heel point that needs to be hard plastic to hold the Step-On system in place. And it was almost unbearable pain. And it was something that was a huge deal breaker for me. I hope the stiffer boots in this new Waverange line are going to protect me better and not cause that problem. This flexes really easy tip to tail and feels almost like a traditional snowboard boot and binding setup when it comes to leaning from tip to tail for a butter or something like that. And I like that feeling a lot. It's something I was sorely missing when it comes to other boots like the Ion, where I had to leave the top pretty loose. I had so much response that it wasn't a problem, but even then I didn't have a lot of lateral flex. When it comes to shock absorption, there isn't much going on here. It looks like there's a lot, but when I got off the Ions, that looks like there's a lot less, but has a lot more. It has a much more shock absorbent, cushy feel that I really enjoy. This felt hard, and then you really notice it when you get off these or Photon step-ons and you get on these. You really feel how hard it is in the heel. Luckily, all the bindings you're gonna ride this with, like from Burton, like from Union, have soft EVA foam. Even the Nitro step-ons have a lot of cool shock absorbing material across the top of the footbed. So you're gonna get a little more board feel, a little less shock absorption here, but you're gonna make up for that with just about any step-on binding that you choose to pair it with. Then of course, they're doing the Vibram, whatever the hell you wanna call it, sole that has lots of traction, and the white part is not slippery EVA foam, so that's pretty good too. And when it comes to footprint, it's a mixed bag. It's very reduced in terms of footprint. It's about 29.6 like it always is with size 9 boots. But here's the thing. You have to connect this to a heel loop. So this area right here sticks out a lot further on the heel side than almost every other normal binding. So you're centered here, but if you're a real hard carver on the heel side, it can be problematic. So overall, there are a lot of issues I see with this, but the bottom line here is this offers a much more traditional boot binding feel on snowboards that I think a lot of people will appreciate if you can get past those issues that I explained here. And what might be issues for me might not be issues for you. If you want that ultra skate-like or surf-like feel out of your boot and you want the convenience of step-on, this might be a really good fit.
Hey everybody, Davey Boy here, giving you a big guy's perspective on the Burton Waverange X Pro Step-In Boot. I rode these in a size 12 on size large Burton Genesis EST step-on bindings. I'm a size 12, 6'3.5", 245 pounds, and these boots are cool. I think first off, these 12s felt small. I've ridden Burton Ions for the last several years, and normally they come straight out the box, ready to rock. They fit my feet perfectly. There's very little break-in period with those boots for my size 12 foot. These felt a little skinny, a little tight. They felt tight on the top of the foot. They felt tight in the toe box. And a good analogy would be going from a pair of New Balance skate shoes to like some Nike SB Janowskis, something that's really skinny and tight in the toe. Same size shoe, but different feel. And that's kind of how these fit. They fit like a kind of a small pair of Nikes. I'm not exactly sure why they felt so much smaller. I would definitely consider sizing up to a 13 potentially if you're a 12. Get a sample with these because the sizing was a little weird for me. My feet were barking by the end of the day. I had a hard time getting through a full day of riding because these were just so tight and compact around the foot. These Waverange are a 4 to 7 on the flex. I'm a big guy, 245. These felt like a 2 to 3. I'm not gonna lie, they're soft. I kind of liked it though. With the EST, the step-on, these are super hyper-responsive bindings. Your heel is completely locked in on these, and you're very attached to the board with these step-on bindings. And I liked the play with these soft boots. If I was riding my normal Union Force bindings and I had these boots on, they would be too soft. but they counterbalanced the extra responsiveness of these bindings, made for a pretty fun ride. I like the triple BOA. I don't like it more than Speed Lace. I honestly feel like between tightening your liner and then the lower and upper zones on the BOA, on the Speed Lace, that's 3 zones of adjustability in my mind at least. Maybe it's technically 2, but I feel like that's a more comfortable and long-lasting tightness setting than the BOAs. These BOAs are exceptional for staying locked. Some companies don't stay locked nearly as well. I just like the adjustability a little better on the Speed Lace. So take that with a grain of salt. It is nice to have the adjustability over the top of the foot. If you have smaller feet or a better fitting boot, it might be more enjoyable. For me, it just just too tight. I didn't need to adjust it at all. It was already a snug fitting boot as it was. Overall, like these Waverange Pros, I think if you're looking at step-on bindings and you don't want an ultra responsive ride, you want something that feels a little closer to traditional bindings, pairing these boots with the step-on is a great option.